Good evening and welcome to our 13th session in the book of James. Remember, James wrote this letter to Jesus' first followers so that they would mature in their faith. As James begins to conclude his letter, he's going to revisit some of the ideas that he set forth throughout his epistle. James has not been shy about his feelings regarding those who take advantage of others, especially the rich taking advantage of the poor. If you will recall, James chastised his first readers back in chapter 2 because they were playing favorites by treating the rich favorably and ignoring the plight of the poor. He explained that the rich were the ones guilty of dragging Christians into court, slandering the name of Jesus, and they were also exploiting the poor. James begins chapter 5 by turning his attention directly to the rich, and he says this: "Now listen, you rich people, weep and wail because of the misery that is coming on you. Your wealth has rotted and moths have eaten your clothes. Your gold and silver are corroded. Their corrosion will testify against you and eat your flesh like fire. You've hoarded wealth in the last days. Look, the wages you failed to pay the workers who mowed your fields are crying out against you. The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty. You have lived on earth in luxury and self-indulgence. You have fattened yourselves up in the day of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the innocent one who was not opposing you." Yikes! There's a lot to unpack in these 6 verses, but it's safe to say that James has very little encouragement to offer the rich people living in Jerusalem when he first wrote his letter. According to James, the rich have only misery to look forward to. Why? Because they hoarded wealth for themselves and cheated workers out of their wages. See, it's possible to be rich and be generous, but wealth and riches can also be terribly deceitful. James said that their wealth has rotted and their gold and silver have corroded. And here's the thing, these people that James is addressing in these verses, they didn't recognize this. They probably didn't have moth-eaten clothes in their closets, and their silver and gold probably weren't already corroding. James is more likely speaking about what's going on behind the veil, in the spiritual places. This kind of reminds me of what Stephen King wrote in the book It. See, there's a part in the book where the walls and floor of Beverly Marsh's bathroom are covered in blood. But Bevy's mom and dad can't see it. To them, everything looks normal. The only people who can see the horrendousness of this shocking scene are a group of kids. Beverly's friends, the Losers Club. They see behind the veil. They see clearly while the adults go about their business, oblivious to the truth. And I think that is what James is addressing in chapter 5. It's as if the rich really don't see what's happening. They seem to have become so comfortable living in luxury that they don't realize the gravity of what's going on. It's as if they have blinders on, but that's only half of it. You see, in their haste to acquire wealth, they cheated hard-working people out of what they deserved. These rich people were comfortable hoarding food that they did not sow or reap, all for themselves, while those who served them faithfully starve. Now, keep in mind that James is writing at a time where there are no social safety nets. There's no welfare, there's no unemployment, there's no Better Business Bureau. If you don't get paid, you're out of luck. What these rich people were doing was not just unethical, it was evil. The poor deserved justice. And so James shifts his attention back to the poor people who comprised much of the church, saying, "Be patient then, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains. You too, be patient and stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near. Don't grumble against one another, brothers and sisters, or you will be judged. The judge is standing at the door." Brothers and sisters, as an example of patience in the face of suffering, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. As you know, we count as blessed those who have persevered. You've heard of Job's perseverance and have seen what the Lord finally brought about. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy. James is saying that justice will come, but it will require our patience. This is a different word for patience than we saw used in chapter 1. Remember, hupomone was used back in James chapter 1, but James said that the testing of our faith develops perseverance or patience. Here, the word that James used for patience is the word makrothumia. It has the idea of holding out for a long time. It's a restraint of the soul. Just like a farmer has to wait for what seems like forever for the crop to come in, you wait patiently knowing God will stand up for you at the appropriate time. In the meantime, don't badmouth each other. You see, hurt people have a tendency to hurt people. Remember, everyone will be judged by God, and He's watching closely. Then James reaches back into Old Testament history and again reminds the church of the trials of Job and the way that he persevered. Job endured unimaginable trials during his lifetime, but by the end of his life, he was more blessed than ever. Why? Because God is merciful and good. Verse 12, above all, my brothers and sisters, do not swear, not by heaven or by earth or by anything else. All you need to say is a simple yes or no. Otherwise, you will be condemned. When we've been taken advantage of, we can become pretty desperate. We can say and do things that are extreme and unnecessary, and I think that's what James is addressing here. When our backs are against the wall, we tend to make rash promises that only leads to more trouble. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 warns of this, saying, do not be rash with your mouth, and let not your heart utter anything hastily before God. For God is in heaven, and you are on earth. Therefore let your words be few. For a dream comes through much activity, and a fool's voice is known by his many words. When you make a vow to God, do not delay to pay it, for He has no pleasure in fools. Pay what you have vowed. Better not to vow than to vow and not pay. Hey, thanks for watching. Have a great week, and I hope that this session has been a blessing for you.